Sometimes people ask me who are working on an Avid show if there might be a way for them to use Final Cut alongside as some sort of companion app so that they maybe can get a chance to learn a little bit about it and put it to use. Actually, no one has ever asked me that, but I'm going to pretend like they did. And what would some of my recommendations be? Well, first one would be to use it to organize your music library. I do this for temp score, composer score, needle drops, all that good stuff is wonderfully appropriate for a Final Cut library, and this can run alongside Avid. And I would say this not just because it can increase your efficiency, but because it can be creatively helpful. That would really be the main reason. And all of that is made possible because Final Cut has keywords, and keywords are something Avid doesn't have, but they're central sort of to Final Cut. And they let you tag clips, or even more importantly, selected parts of clips with descriptive terms of your choosing. It's a little bit like making a subclip without actually making a new instance of a clip. So there are a million different ways you could use this, but here's how I've settled on doing things for now. Here I have my music library from my last show, and I've got a couple different little events in here, but I'm just going to focus on temp score for right now. And I've given some thought, and for me, I find that I'm looking for music based on three main criteria, which are type, instrumentation, and mood, or its emotional quality. So nothing revolutionary here, just pretty basic stuff. Okay, now what you're seeing here on the left are all the keywords. And if I do the legwork up front to organize this stuff, I can use these keywords to zero in on a piece of score more efficiently. And by doing this, I can hopefully keep my head in the game of assembling a sequence rather than getting lost in a music hunt rabbit hole. So if I'm cutting an action scene, say, and maybe I'm looking for something that has a lot of drums, I can set up this thing called a smart collection, and that's going to behave a lot like something in iTunes or whatever, and it's going to allow me to filter my whole library a bunch of different ways. And I can say, okay, I've got a big action scene, and I'd like it to use full score. I want it to have percussion, a lot of movement. So now that's narrowed it down, and out of the cues that I've got, these fit that criteria. And yeah, I know you can do a lot of this type of thing in Avid, but what I don't get there is the ability to see the waveforms, to get this massive overview of my selections, and most importantly, to be able to select out and categorize parts of cues as opposed to just notating the whole thing or relying on markers. And it's also worth noting that there's very little double clicking involved because of the skimmer. I just hover the skimmer over whatever I'm interested in, and you hit play and it plays. So I'm not constantly loading things into the source monitor to audition them. So how does all this work? How long does it take? Well, it takes a while, obviously, but I feel like it's worth it. And it's also important to keep in mind that you can bring this thing, this library, with you from job to job, and the longer you use it, the more categorized it can become. So the longer you have it, the better it gets. And you don't have to mark all of your music up at once. You do this as you go, maybe, or on days when, those rare days when you might be waiting around for notes, things are slow. And your assistant can obviously do that as well if you want to put them on the task. And the main thing is that later, during the notes process, if you need to replace cues, it'll be much easier for you to find new options. Anyway, there are a bunch of things you can do with this, but it's definitely something you could try running alongside Avid if you want. You just keep your music in both places, but most of your main organization and looking for things happens in Final Cut. And when you find a piece you want, you just import it or find the corresponding track in Avid. And there you go. Anyway, that's it. Thanks a lot.